The fluorescent lights of the corporate office felt harsher than usual that Tuesday morning, as Emma stared at the email on her computer screen. After 5 years of dedication, overtime shifts, and unwavering loyalty to Hartwell Industries, she had finally applied for the senior marketing director position. The response from her boss, Richard Hartwell, was brief and cutting. "You're not ready for promotion. Perhaps in a few more years." The words burned into her mind like acid, each letter a reminder of how undervalued she felt in this sterile corporate environment where her ideas were consistently overlooked and her contributions minimized. "Hi everyone, I'm Tina, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. You know, sometimes life throws us curveballs that feel devastating in the moment, but later we realize they were exactly the push we needed to discover our true potential. Today I want to share with you an incredible story about a woman who turned the most humiliating moment of her career into the foundation of her greatest triumph. This is a story about resilience, courage, and the power of believing in yourself when nobody else will. Stay with me until the end, because you're going to witness one of the most satisfying career transformations I've ever encountered. If this story touches your heart, please give it a like and consider subscribing to hear more inspiring journeys like this one. Emma had always been the type of person who believed hard work would eventually be rewarded. Growing up in a middle-class family in Ohio, her parents had instilled in her the values of persistence and dedication. She had graduated summa cum laude from Northwestern University with a degree in marketing, and when she landed her first job at Hartwell Industries, she thought she had found her career home. The company specialized in innovative home automation systems, and Emma genuinely believed in their products. She poured her heart into every campaign, staying late to perfect presentations, volunteering for additional projects, and consistently exceeding her targets. But Richard Hartwell was not the kind of boss who appreciated initiative. A man in his late 50s who had inherited the company from his father, Richard ruled with an iron fist and an inflated ego. He had a particular talent for making his employees feel small, and Emma seemed to be his favorite target. In meetings, he would interrupt her presentations, dismiss her ideas with a wave of his hand, and often take credit for her successful campaigns. When clients praised her work directly, Richard would quickly interject to remind everyone that it was team effort under his leadership. The promotion Emma had applied for represented everything she had worked toward. The senior marketing director position would finally give her the authority to implement her vision, lead her own team, and most importantly, earn the respect she deserved. She had prepared meticulously for the application process, compiling a portfolio of her achievements, including the revolutionary social media campaign that had increased company sales by 37%, and the customer retention program that had saved the company over $2 million in the previous year alone. When Richard called her into his office that fateful Tuesday, Emma entered with cautious optimism. The office was a testament to his ego, with awards covering the walls and a massive mahogany desk that seemed designed to intimidate. Richard didn't even look up from his computer when she entered, continuing to type as if her presence was an inconvenience. After what felt like an eternity, he finally glanced up with that familiar condescending smile that made Emma's stomach churn. "Emma, I've reviewed your application for the senior director position," he began, his voice dripping with false concern. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but frankly, you're just not ready for that level of responsibility. You lack the executive presence needed for senior management. Perhaps in a few more years, after you've gained more experience working under proper guidance, we can revisit this conversation." The words hit Emma like a physical blow. 5 years of exemplary performance, countless successful projects, and unwavering dedication. And this was his assessment. She felt her cheeks burn with humiliation and her hands tremble with suppressed anger. But what came next was even worse. "I've decided to promote James Morrison." "Instead," Richard continued, referring to a colleague who had joined the company just 2 years ago and had never managed a major campaign independently. "He has the natural leadership qualities we need at the executive level. I trust you'll support him in his new role and continue to be a valuable team player." Emma somehow managed to maintain her composure during the meeting, nodding politely and thanking him for his feedback. But as she walked back to her cubicle, past the congratulatory flowers being delivered to James's desk, something fundamental shifted inside her. The hurt and disappointment began to transform into something much more powerful: determination. That evening, as she sat in her small apartment, staring at the city lights beyond her window, Emma felt a surge of clarity wash over her. The rejection that had initially felt like the end of her dreams now revealed itself as the beginning of something far greater. Her phone buzzed with messages from concerned colleagues who had heard the news, their sympathetic words only fueling the fire building within her chest. She picked up a notepad and began sketching out ideas, her hand moving with newfound purpose as she outlined the foundation of what would soon become her greatest achievement. That evening, as she sat in her small apartment, Emma made a decision that would change the trajectory of her entire life. If Richard Hartwell couldn't see her worth, she would prove it to the world in a way he would never forget. The weeks following that devastating meeting became a period of intense self-reflection and strategic planning for Emma. She had always been methodical in her approach to challenges, but this time the stakes felt personal. Every evening after work, she would sit at her kitchen table with her laptop, researching the entrepreneurial landscape and analyzing market gaps in the home automation industry. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was using the very skills Richard had deemed insufficient while sitting in the same apartment she could barely afford on her current salary. Her hands would tremble slightly as she typed, a mixture of rage and determination coursing through her veins. "He thinks I'm not ready," she would whisper to herself during those late-night sessions, her voice growing stronger with each passing day. "I'll show him what ready really looks like." Emma's apartment was modest, a one-bedroom space in a converted Victorian house about 20 minutes from downtown. The walls were decorated with marketing awards she had won over the years, achievements that now felt hollow given how little they had meant to her former boss. But as she stared at those certificates, something clicked. These weren't just pieces of paper. They were evidence of her capabilities, proof that she possessed the talent and vision to succeed on her own terms. The golden frames caught the lamplight as she studied each one, remembering the late nights and creative breakthroughs that had earned her recognition from industry peers. Her reflection in the glass seemed different now, more resolute, as if Richard's rejection had stripped away any lingering self-doubt and revealed the fierce entrepreneur who had always existed beneath the surface. The first step in her journey was conducting a thorough analysis of Hartwell Industries' weaknesses. Emma had insider knowledge that proved invaluable in this process. She knew that despite Richard's confident exterior, the company was struggling to adapt to the rapidly evolving smart home market. Their products were becoming outdated, their marketing strategies were stagnant, and customer satisfaction scores had been declining steadily over the past 2 years. Most critically, they were losing ground to smaller, more agile competitors who understood that modern consumers wanted integrated solutions, not just individual gadgets. Emma's fingers flew across her keyboard as she documented every flaw she had observed during her years at the company, every missed opportunity that had made her cringe in meetings, every customer complaint that had been dismissed too quickly by upper management. Emma began reaching out to her network, starting with former classmates from Northwestern who had ventured into entrepreneurship. She was amazed by how eager people were to help when she explained her vision. Sarah Chen, a former study partner who now ran a successful tech startup incubator, immediately offered to meet for coffee. During their conversation at a bustling cafe downtown, Sarah listened intently as Emma outlined her business concept. The aroma of freshly ground coffee beans mixed with Emma's nervous excitement as she leaned forward, her eyes bright with possibility. "You want to create a comprehensive smart home consultation service that focuses on seamless integration and personalized solutions," Sarah summarized, her eyes lighting up with interest. "That's brilliant, Emma. The market is absolutely crying out for someone who can cut through the technical jargon and help regular homeowners understand how these technologies can actually improve their daily lives." Sarah reached across the small marble table and squeezed Emma's hand warmly. I can already see this succeeding in ways that will make your former boss question every decision he's ever made." Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious, and by the end of their meeting, Emma had her first potential investor and mentor. But more importantly, she had validation that her idea wasn't just a fantasy born from workplace frustration. It was a viable business opportunity with real potential for success. Walking out of that cafe, Emma felt her phone buzzing with a text from Richard about some mundane office matter, and for the first time in months, she smiled genuinely as she chose to ignore it completely. The next crucial step was assembling a team. Emma knew she couldn't build a company alone, and she was determined to create the kind of collaborative, respectful work environment she had always craved. Through LinkedIn and industry connections, she began reaching out to talented professionals who, like her, felt undervalued in their current positions. Her first major recruit was Michael Torres, a brilliant software engineer who had been overlooked for promotions at his current company, despite developing innovative automation algorithms that had saved his employers millions. During their initial video call, Michael's passion for the project was immediately apparent. "I'm so tired of working for companies that don't appreciate innovation," he confided, his voice filled with the same frustration Emma had felt for years. "The idea of building something from the ground up, where good ideas are actually implemented rather than buried in corporate bureaucracy, is incredibly appealing." His eyes sparkled with the same revolutionary fervor that Emma recognized in her own reflection these days. Emma also connected with Lisa Rodriguez, a former colleague from her university days who had built an impressive reputation as a sales strategist. Lisa had been working for a large telecommunications company but felt stifled by their rigid corporate structure. When Emma explained her vision for a company that truly prioritized customer satisfaction and employee growth, Lisa didn't hesitate to express her interest in joining the venture. "Emma, I've been waiting for an opportunity like this for years," Lisa admitted during their phone conversation, her voice thick with emotion. "I want to be part of something that actually makes a difference." The team began meeting virtually every evening, using their collective expertise to refine the business plan and develop a comprehensive market strategy. These sessions were energizing in a way Emma had never experienced in her corporate job. Ideas flowed freely, everyone's contributions were valued, and the shared excitement about their potential impact was palpable. During one particularly productive session, Michael looked directly into his camera and said, "You know what I love most about this? We're not just building a business. We're proving that talent doesn't need permission to flourish." Emma felt tears of gratitude and determination prick her eyes as she realized she had found her tribe. You know, watching Emma build this foundation reminds me of how many of us have incredible talents that go unrecognized in our current situations. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever felt undervalued or overlooked, I want you to know that you're not alone. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I love sharing stories that remind us of our own power and potential. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a moment where someone's doubt in you actually became the catalyst for your greatest achievement? Your story might just inspire someone else who needs to hear it today. As Emma's business plan took shape, she realized she needed to make some significant financial sacrifices to fund her startup. The modest savings she had accumulated over 5 years at Hartwell Industries would need to stretch much further than originally planned. She made the difficult decision to move to an even smaller apartment, trading her one-bedroom space for a studio that was half the rent but required her to get creative with storage and workspace solutions. Her kitchen table became her official headquarters, and she invested in a good lamp and ergonomic cushion to make those long planning sessions more sustainable. The cramped quarters meant that every square inch had to serve multiple purposes. Her dining table transformed into a conference room during video calls, her closet doubled as a filing system, and she learned to work productively even when her neighbors were playing music or having conversations that drifted through the thin walls. Some nights, she would lie awake listening to the sounds of the city filtering through her windows, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. But then morning would come, and with it a renewed sense of determination that reminded her why she had taken this leap in the first place. The financial constraints forced Emma to become incredibly resourceful. a skill that would prove invaluable as an entrepreneur. She negotiated with software vendors for startup discounts, found freelance graphic designers through university job boards who charged reasonable rates, and even bartered marketing consulting services in exchange for legal advice from a lawyer friend who was starting his own practice. Every dollar saved was a dollar that could be invested back into product development and market research. Emma discovered she had a natural talent for finding creative solutions to expensive problems, whether it was using free co-working spaces for important client meetings or leveraging social media connections to access industry resources that would have cost thousands of dollars through traditional channels. Her refrigerator became a gallery of sticky notes tracking every expense, every potential partnership, every small victory that brought her closer to her goal of proving that she was ready for far more than Harrison had ever imagined. During this period, Emma's relationship with her family became a crucial source of emotional support. Her parents, who lived about 3 hours away in a small town outside Columbus, had always been her biggest cheerleaders. When she called to explain her decision to leave Hartwell Industries and start her own company, her mother's response surprised her with its immediate enthusiasm. "Emma, honey, your father and I have been waiting for this call for years," her mother said, her voice filled with maternal pride. "We could see how miserable you were becoming in that job, how that awful boss was crushing your spirit. You're brilliant and capable, and it's about time you believed in yourself the way we've always believed in you." Her father, a retired high school principal who had always emphasized the importance of integrity and hard work, offered practical wisdom that helped Emma navigate the emotional challenges of entrepreneurship. "Starting your own business is scary," he acknowledged during one of their weekend phone calls. "But you know what's scarier? Spending the rest of your life wondering what might have been if you had been brave enough to try." The business model Emma developed was revolutionary in its simplicity and comprehensive in its approach. Rather than trying to compete directly with large manufacturers, her company would focus on being the bridge between complex technology and everyday homeowners. They would offer complete smart home consultations, from initial assessment through installation and ongoing support, with an emphasis on creating systems that actually made life easier rather than more complicated. Emma's team conducted extensive market research, surveying hundreds of homeowners about their experiences with smart home technology. The results were eye-opening. While interest in home automation was high, customer satisfaction rates were disappointingly low. Most people felt overwhelmed by the technical complexity, frustrated by products that didn't communicate with each other, and abandoned by companies that provided little post-purchase support. "This is our opportunity," Emma explained during one of their evening strategy sessions. "We're not just selling products, we're selling peace of mind and genuine improvement in people's daily lives. When a busy working mother can adjust her home's temperature, security system, and lighting with simple voice commands that actually work reliably, we've created real value." The team developed a unique consultation process that began with a detailed lifestyle assessment. Rather than leading with technology specifications, Emma's approach started with understanding how families actually lived in their homes, what their daily routines looked like, and where technology could genuinely eliminate friction and stress. This human-centered approach would become their primary competitive advantage. Michael's technical expertise was crucial in developing partnerships with manufacturers who were willing to work with a smaller company in exchange for detailed customer feedback and innovative integration solutions. His reputation in the II industry opened doors that might have remained closed to a traditional startup, and his passion for elegant, user-friendly design aligned perfectly with Emma's vision. Lisa's sales background proved invaluable in developing customer acquisition strategies that were both cost-effective and authentic. Rather than relying on aggressive advertising, they planned to build their reputation through referrals and case studies, demonstrating real results for real families. Lisa also suggested targeting specific demographics initially, focusing on dual-income families with children who had the financial resources to invest in smart home solutions, but lacked the time to research and implement them independently. As the business plan neared completion, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and terror that she had never experienced before. Every decision felt momentous, every detail critical to their potential success or failure. But beneath the anxiety was something she hadn't felt in years: genuine enthusiasm for her professional future. For the first time since college, she was excited to wake up and work on something that felt meaningful and aligned with her values and capabilities. The moment of truth arrived on a crisp October morning when Emma submitted her resignation letter to Hartwell Industries. She had timed this decision strategically, waiting until her business plan was complete, her team was assembled, and her first round of seed funding was secured. Walking into Richard's office that morning, Emma felt a calm confidence she had never experienced in that intimidating space before. The mahogany desk that had once made her feel small now seemed like just another piece of furniture, and Richard's condescending smile no longer had the power to diminish her self-worth. Her heart beat steadily, not with the familiar anxiety that had plagued her for months, but with the quiet certainty of someone who had finally found their true path. The leather chairs that had witnessed countless moments of her diminished confidence now bore witness to her transformation. The morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows seemed different today, casting everything in sharp relief and illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air like tiny celebrations of her courage. Emma noticed details she had never seen before: the slight fading on Richard's Harvard diploma, the way his pen collection was arranged with obsessive precision, the small crack in the corner of his glass awards display that spoke to the fragility of his carefully constructed authority. "Richard, I wanted to let you know that I'll be leaving Hartwell Industries," Emma announced, placing her resignation letter on his desk with steady hands. "My last day will be 2 weeks from today." Her voice carried a newfound authority that surprised even her, each word delivered with the precision of someone who had rehearsed this moment in her mind countless times, but was now living it with authentic courage. The envelope containing her resignation felt weightless between her fingers, like shedding a burden she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. She watched as Richard's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly as he processed her words. The silence stretched between them like a taut wire, heavy with years of suppressed frustration and unspoken ambitions. Emma found herself studying his reaction with the detached curiosity of someone watching a fascinating experiment unfold, no longer invested in his approval or disapproval, but simply observing the mechanisms of power as they shifted in real time. The shock on Richard's face was almost comical. He had grown so accustomed to employees who accepted his authority without question that the concept of someone voluntarily leaving his domain seemed incomprehensible. His fingers drummed nervously against the desk surface, a tell that Emma had never noticed before, but now found oddly satisfying. The rhythmic tapping betrayed his inner turmoil in a way his carefully maintained exterior never could. "You can't be serious," he finally managed, his voice cracking slightly on the last word as if the very idea challenged his fundamental understanding of workplace hierarchy. The color had drained from his cheeks, leaving behind a pallor that made his usually commanding presence seem suddenly fragile and uncertain. The first 6 months of running IntelliHome Solutions tested every aspect of Emma's character and capabilities. Operating from her studio apartment, she discovered that entrepreneurship was simultaneously more challenging and more rewarding than anything she had experienced in corporate employment. The initial client acquisition process required her to step completely outside her comfort zone, reaching out to potential customers through networking events, social media marketing, and referrals from her growing professional network. Some nights, she would stare at her laptop, screen until 2 a.m., crafting personalized emails to potential clients, her heart racing with each send button she pressed, wondering if this particular message would be the one to break through. The rejection emails stung deeply, each automated response feeling like a personal dismissal of her dreams, but each small victory felt like conquering Mount Everest. Her mother would call weekly, voice tinged with concern, asking, "Sweetheart, are you sure about this? You had such a stable job before." Emma would force confidence into her voice, even when doubt gnawed at her insides like a persistent ache. Those sleepless nights became her crucible, forging an unshakable determination that would define her company's future success. Emma's first major breakthrough came through an unexpected connection. During a local business networking event at the downtown Marriott, she struck up a conversation with Jennifer Walsh, a successful real estate agent who specialized in luxury home sales. Jennifer had been struggling with a persistent problem. Her wealthy clients frequently asked about smart home integration during property tours, but she lacked the technical expertise to provide meaningful guidance. "Most of my clients want these technologies, but they're intimidated by the complexity," Jennifer explained over coffee after the networking session. "They've heard horror stories about expensive installations that don't work properly, systems that require computer science degrees to operate, and customer service that disappears after the sale. If you could solve those problems, I could refer significant business your way." This conversation led to Emma's first major client, a prominent surgeon and his wife who had just purchased a 6,000-square-foot home in an exclusive suburb. Dr. and Mrs. Patterson were exactly the type of customers Emma's business model was designed to serve: financially successful professionals who wanted the convenience and security benefits of smart home technology but lacked the time and technical background to research and implement solutions independently. Emma's consultation with the Pattersons showcased everything that differentiated her approach from traditional smart home companies. Rather than leading with technical specifications and product catalogs, she spent hours understanding their lifestyle, daily routines, and specific pain points. Dr. Patterson worked unpredictable emergency surgery hours and needed a system that could automatically adjust lighting, temperature, and security based on his presence. Mrs. Patterson, who managed their household and entertained frequently, wanted intuitive controls for ambiance and music that wouldn't require technical expertise to operate. The comprehensive solution Emma designed integrated lighting, climate control, security cameras, audio systems, and automated window treatments into a seamless ecosystem that could be controlled through simple voice commands or an elegant smartphone interface. But more importantly, she provided 3 months of post-installation support to ensure the family felt completely comfortable with their new system. The Patterson project's success led to a cascade of referrals that rapidly expanded Emma's client base. Within 4 months, IntelliHome Solutions had completed installations for 12 high-end residential clients, generating revenue that exceeded Emma's annual salary at Hartwell Industries. More significantly, customer satisfaction scores were exceptional, with every client providing enthusiastic testimonials and additional referrals. Michael's technical innovations were crucial to these early successes. His custom integration software solved compatibility issues that plagued many smart home installations, allowing devices from different manufacturers to communicate seamlessly. This proprietary technology became IntelliHome's secret weapon, enabling them to offer more reliable and user-friendly solutions than their competitors. Lisa's sales expertise proved equally valuable, but in ways Emma hadn't anticipated. Rather than focusing on aggressive customer acquisition, Lisa developed a comprehensive customer success program that ensured every installation exceeded expectations. Her follow-up protocols identified potential issues before they became problems and continuously gathered feedback that informed product development and service improvements. The team's collaborative approach created a positive feedback loop that accelerated their growth trajectory. Happy customers provided detailed testimonials that attracted new prospects. Successful installations generated case studies that demonstrated their expertise. And word-of-mouth referrals reduced marketing costs while building a reputation for quality and reliability. As IntelliHome Solutions approached its 6-month anniversary, Emma received an unexpected phone call that would prove to be a pivotal moment in her entrepreneurial journey. The caller was David Chen, a venture capital partner whose firm specialized in emerging technology companies. David had heard about Emma's company through industry connections and was intrigued by their rapid growth and unique market positioning. "Emma, we've been watching your company's progress, and frankly, we're impressed," David explained during their initial conversation. "Your approach to smart home integration addresses real market gaps, and your customer satisfaction metrics are extraordinary. We'd like to discuss potential investment opportunities that could accelerate your growth significantly." You know, this is exactly the kind of moment that gives me chills every time I think about it. Here's Emma, who was told just months earlier that she wasn't ready for more responsibility, now being courted by venture capitalists who recognize her vision and execution. If you're enjoying this incredible journey of transformation, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our inspiring stories. And I'm curious, what's the biggest risk you've ever taken that paid off beyond your wildest dreams? Share your story in the comments below, because I believe we all have the power to create these kinds of remarkable turnarounds in our own lives. The venture capital meeting took place in a gleaming downtown office tower in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered breathtaking views of the city skyline. Emma had prepared meticulously for this presentation, understanding that the opportunity to secure professional investment could transform her company from a promising startup into a major market player. She wore her best business suit, the same navy blue outfit she had worn to important client meetings at Hartwell Industries, but now it represented something entirely different. Her identity as a successful entrepreneur rather than an undervalued employee. David Chen's investment firm, Meridian Venture Partners, had an impressive portfolio of technology companies, including several that had achieved billion-dollar valuations. The conference room walls displayed framed articles about their success stories, serving as both inspiration and subtle intimidation for entrepreneurs seeking their backing. Emma felt her heart racing as she set up her presentation materials, but beneath the nervousness was a quiet confidence built on 6 months of proven results and satisfied customers. Emma, we've done our due diligence on IntelliHome Solutions, and we're genuinely excited about what you've accomplished, David began, his tone professional but warm. Your revenue growth trajectory is impressive, but what really caught our attention is your customer retention rate and the quality of your testimonials. In an industry where customer complaints are common, you've achieved something remarkable. Emma's presentation covered every aspect of her business model, from the initial market analysis that had identified gaps in customer service to the proprietary integration technology that enabled seamless smart home installations. She shared detailed case studies, financial projections, and her vision for scaling the company nationally while maintaining the personalized service that had become their signature advantage. The investment committee asked probing questions that tested Emma's understanding of her market, competition, and growth strategy. Every answer she provided demonstrated not only her business acumen, but also the deep industry knowledge she had accumulated during her years at Hartwell Industries and the intensive learning period since launching her company. Your competitive analysis is particularly insightful, noted Sarah Kim, another partner at Meridian. You've identified weaknesses in established players that they probably don't even recognize themselves. How do you plan to maintain your advantages as larger companies inevitably try to copy your approach? Emma's response showcased the strategic thinking that had driven her success. Our competitive moat isn't just our technology or service model, it's our company culture and values. We hire people who genuinely care about customer success. We invest in continuous training and development, and we maintain the flexibility to adapt quickly to changing market conditions. Larger companies struggle to replicate that kind of agility and authentic customer focus. The meeting concluded with Meridian Venture Partners offering a significant investment that would provide Emma with the capital needed to expand her team, develop additional proprietary technologies, and launch operations in multiple metropolitan markets. The terms were favorable, allowing Emma to maintain majority control of her company while gaining access to Meridian's extensive network of industry contacts and business expertise. 3 weeks later, Emma signed the investment agreement in the same conference room where she had pitched her vision. As she put pen to paper, she couldn't help but think about the journey that had brought her to this moment. 18 months earlier, she had been a frustrated employee whose contributions were dismissed and whose potential was ignored. Now she was the CEO of a rapidly growing company with the backing of one of the region's most respected venture capital firms. The investment enabled Emma to implement expansion plans that had previously been merely aspirational. She leased a proper office space in a modern business district, hired additional team members, and invested in marketing initiatives that would build national brand recognition. Most importantly, she was able to recruit top talent from established companies, including several former colleagues who had grown tired of corporate limitations and were excited about joining a company that valued innovation and employee growth. One of her most significant hires was Patricia Martinez, a former executive from a major home automation manufacturer who had become disillusioned with her company's focus on short-term profits over customer satisfaction. Patricia brought decades of industry experience and a network of relationships that would prove invaluable as IntelliHome Solutions expanded into new markets. "Emma, I've been watching your company's progress for months," Patricia explained during her interview. "What you've built represents everything I wished my previous employer could become. The opportunity to help scale this vision nationally is exactly the challenge I've been looking for at this stage of my career." As Emma's team grew and their market presence expanded, she began receiving recognition from industry publications and business organizations. Trade magazines featured articles about IntelliHome's innovative approach to customer service, and Emma was invited to speak at conferences about entrepreneurship and market disruption. Each accolade felt surreal, given how recently she had been struggling for basic recognition in her previous job. The most satisfying aspect of her success was the company culture she had been able to create. IntelliHome Solutions operated on principles of respect, collaboration, and continuous learning. Every team member felt valued and empowered to contribute ideas, and the company's flat organizational structure ensured that good suggestions were implemented regardless of who proposed them. Employee satisfaction surveys consistently rated the company as an exceptional place to work, and turnover rates were negligible compared to industry standards. The phone call that would complete Emma's remarkable transformation came on a Tuesday morning exactly 2 years after she had submitted her resignation to Richard Hartwell. Emma was in her new corner office, reviewing quarterly financial reports that showed IntelliHome Solutions had achieved profitability ahead of schedule and was generating annual revenue that exceeded her wildest initial projections. The company now employed 43 people across 5 metropolitan markets, and expansion into additional cities was scheduled for the following quarter. "Emma, this is Richard Hartwell," the familiar voice said, though it lacked the authoritative tone she remembered from their previous interactions. "I hope you have a few minutes to speak with me about a potential opportunity." The irony of the situation was not lost on Emma as she listened to her former boss explain that Hartwell Industries was facing significant financial difficulties. The smart home market had evolved rapidly, and their failure to adapt had resulted in declining sales, canceled contracts, and the very real possibility of bankruptcy. Richard's voice carried a humility she had never heard before as he outlined the company's desperate circumstances. "We need help, Emma," Richard admitted, his words heavy with the weight of professional desperation. "Our board of directors has been monitoring your company's success, and they believe a partnership or acquisition could be our salvation. We're prepared to offer you a substantial consulting contract to help us restructure our operations and develop competitive products." Emma took a moment to process the complete reversal of their professional relationship. The man who had told her she wasn't ready for promotion was now asking for her expertise to save his failing company. The employee he had dismissed as lacking executive presence was now running a more successful operation than his own. "Richard, I appreciate you reaching out," Emma responded, her tone professional but firm. "However, I'm not interested in a consulting arrangement or partnership, but I am prepared to make you an offer for the complete acquisition of Hartwell Industries." The silence on the other end of the line was profound as Richard absorbed the implications of her statement. Emma continued, "My team has analyzed your company's assets, customer base, and market position. We believe there's value in your manufacturing capabilities and existing contracts, but only as part of a complete restructuring under new management." Emma's acquisition offer was comprehensive and generous, providing fair compensation for shareholders while ensuring job security for Hartwell employees who demonstrated alignment with IntelliHome's values and performance standards. The deal would eliminate Richard's position as CEO, but offered him an opportunity to join the company as a regional sales manager reporting to Patricia Martinez. "You're offering me a job?" Richard asked, his voice barely concealing his shock at this ultimate role reversal. "I'm offering you the opportunity to be part of a company that values results over politics and growth over ego," Emma clarified. "The position would require you to embrace collaborative leadership and customer-focused strategies, which might be an adjustment from your previous management approach." The acquisition process took 3 months to complete, during which Emma demonstrated the same methodical approach that had built her company's success. She conducted thorough due diligence, negotiated favorable terms, and developed detailed integration plans that would maximize value while minimizing disruption to operations and employees. On the day the acquisition was finalized, Emma stood in the same office where Richard had once dismissed her potential, but now the nameplate on the door read Emma Sullivan, Chief Executive Officer. The mahogany desk that had once intimidated her now served as the command center for a company that employed over 100 people and was recognized as an industry leader in smart home solutions. Richard's first day as a regional sales manager was awkward but professionally handled by both parties. Emma had assigned him to work with Patricia Martinez, whose extensive experience and patient leadership style would provide the guidance he needed to adapt to IntelliHome's collaborative culture. During their initial meeting, Richard's demeanor was markedly different from the arrogant executive Emma remembered. "Emma, I owe you an apology," Richard said, his voice carrying genuine remorse. "I failed to recognize your talent and potential, and that failure nearly cost both of our careers. I'm grateful for this opportunity to learn from the company you've built and to contribute to its continued success." Emma's response was gracious, but focused on the future rather than past grievances. "Richard, what matters now is how we move forward together. This company succeeds because every team member is valued and empowered to contribute their best work. I believe you can be successful here if you embrace that philosophy." 6 months after the acquisition, the integrated company achieved record-breaking revenue and customer satisfaction scores. Emma's story had become legendary in entrepreneurial circles, frequently cited as an example of how rejection and underestimation can become catalysts for extraordinary achievement. She was featured on the cover of several business magazines and invited to speak at universities about leadership, resilience, and the power of believing in your own potential. The most fulfilling aspect of Emma's journey was the opportunity to mentor other employees who felt undervalued or overlooked in their current positions. She established an internal leadership development program that identified high-potential team members and provided them with the resources and support needed to advance their careers. Many of these employees went on to launch their own successful ventures, carrying forward the values of respect, collaboration, and customer focus that defined IntelliHome's culture. Emma's transformation from underestimated employee to successful CEO proved that sometimes the most devastating professional setbacks can become the foundation for the greatest triumphs. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that our worth is not determined by others' recognition, but by our own willingness to bet on our potential and work relentlessly to achieve our vision. The words, "You're not ready," had become the catalyst for proving that she was ready for far more than anyone had imagined, including herself.